Alright, so February was definitely not the greatest sales month of my life, but I did still have a few sales that I was pretty proud of, so I'm going to share with you in this video everything that I sold in the month of February. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller on a variety of reselling platforms. I think today we talk about platforms like eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, Shopify, Depop, Kidizen, actually a lot of platforms. We talk about a lot of platforms today, and that's because I did sell at least one item across all those different platforms, and this is what I do in my spare time when I'm not teaching high school choir and being a mom to my kids and, you know, just doing all my like family and church stuff. I will go to thrift stores or consignment stores. I mean, I actually tell you where all of the items from today's video are from, but I go to different places, buy items for as cheap as I can, and sell them for as much as I can on the various reselling platforms that I just talked about. So if that sounds interesting to you, right now I'm doing these like monthly what sold videos to get caught up, and as soon as I do get caught up to like current day, then I will start doing a weekly what sold videos and sharing with you everything that is selling for me as a part-time reseller. So if that sounds interesting to you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are not a part of this community already. But let's just go ahead and jump right into it by talking about a pretty lame sale. And it was lame for many reasons, you know, to no fault of the buyers. It was just, why did I even list this in the first place? So about 5 years ago, I actually don't know when, but many years ago, I listed this item and it finally sold on the 1st of February. So this was an item that sold on eBay. And it was this red heart sequin long sleeve t-shirt in a youth girl size medium, or like a youth 7-8. This didn't even have a brand name on it or anything like that. Again, I don't necessarily understand why I went ahead and listed this. Today's version of Becky would just look at something like this and be like, okay, I'm just going to take this to the kids consignment store, because even though I make a lot less, you know, selling items through my local kids consignment store, I do a lot less work too. And then I don't have to sit on things like this for 5 years. Now this sold for $7, and I have a suspicion that it sold on February 1st because someone was thinking ahead to Valentine's Day. Maybe this is what the kid wore to like their Valentine's Day party at school or something like that. But my net profit, because I had nothing into it, since it was something that someone had given to us for free, I made a net profit of $5.68 on that sale. I would have probably made like $1 or $2 had I, you know, brought that to the local kids consignment store, but then I wouldn't have had to wait a bajillion years for this to sell, wouldn't have had to go through the process of photographing it, listing it, shipping it once it sold. But you know, I made a little bit of money, and that can go towards purchasing clothes for my own kids or purchasing things like, you know, McDonald's French fries and a Coke. Perfect way to spend $5.68. The next sale from the 1st of February was also on eBay. Another super random thing. This was this new Evolution Salt Co. Himalayan Pink Salt Inhaler refill. It was like 0.9 ounces. I don't know why I bought this. I did actually buy this for myself. I don't know, as many of you know, I have like asthma and I have all these other random conditions that just make life harder for me than it needs to be. I don't know, you know how you get it in like that part of the grocery store that's very like, I don't know, for like hippies, like people who are like all natural everything, and I was like, let me just try this and see if it heals everything. I think I tried it once and then just like forgot about it, and not only did I buy the thing that you actually use to like inhale from, it kind of looks like a fancy glass version of like a regular inhaler. Not only did I buy that, but I got this too. It was like the thing that you get in case you run out of the stuff that's inside the original thing that you inhale out of. I was never going to get to the refill because I was never even going to use up, you know, what it came with. So I just went ahead and listed it after I had it in my possession for a bit and realized I'm never going to use this. It sold for $7, and so my net profit, I'm just going to not count the cost of goods, even though I should. Like, I don't remember even how much I paid for it. Basically, I lost some money, but I'm saying that I made a net profit of $5.71. Definitely paid more for it than that, but we're just going to say that it was a net profit of $5.71. So I, again, just made the amount that I needed for a large fries and a large Coke at McDonald's. This is not sponsored by McDonald's, but I am super available, just in case you were wondering. So the next day of sales that we'll talk about is February 2nd, and again on eBay, I thankfully had a much better sale than what I had sold the first day of February. But it was this bag by the brand Skagen. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's Skagen, Denmark. It was this black leather crossbody bag or like purse. It had gold hardware. It was lined. It was just super classic. Just a great everyday bag. It was lightweight. It wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. It was very functional. You could fit like a purse and a wallet, a chapstick, a small snack, you know, whatever. Like, it was a great bag for every day. I got it at an estate sale that was happening in my neighborhood. I just kind of stumbled upon it. I saw the signs leading to the estate sale as I was coming home from work one day, and I just thought it was a really cool piece. So I actually had $11.25 into it. I believe I got it during the half off day sale of that estate sale, and it sold for $34.50, which I thought was pretty great. I was hoping it would sell for around that $35 to $40 mark, so it was right around there. And so my net profit on that was $17.44. And the best news was I didn't even really wait very long to sell it, probably like a handful of months. So that was pretty cool. I don't sell a lot of bags just because I don't know a lot about bags to begin with. Skagen, from what I know, is actually more well known for their watches. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just know it's like a high quality brand, which is why I wanted to try it. And I was pretty pleased with it, and I just liked the functionality and the design of the bag as well. So if I came across another bag that looked similar to that one by that brand, I think I definitely would pick it up. Maybe not for the amount that I paid for it. You know, if I could get it for under $10, I think that's going to be better than, you know, paying $11.25 for it. But definitely a really high quality brand in my opinion. And then I sold nothing on February 3rd, but on February 4th on, again, eBay, just nothing sold on other platforms the first few days of February. But on eBay, I sold this Sanctuary grease gray plaid pair of leggings. They were mid-rise. I also called them like skinny pants in the title. And they were in a women's size small. So I've talked about the brand Sanctuary before. I have actually been selling more and more pieces by that brand. I typically don't have as much luck with their pants. These, however, I did pick up at a local consignment store during their birthday sale because I knew I was going to have so little into them. And the way that the birthday sale at this consignment store always works is you pay for a bag. You pay for like a small shopping bag, and let's say the price per bag has been anywhere from like $25. I think it's gone up to like $30 or $35 at this point. But because you're paying by the bag, if you're being really strategic, you're going to go for smaller items. And these being leggings, you could roll these up and they're not going to take up very much space in a plastic bag at all, which was one of the reasons why I was like, sure, I'll get these. I don't know how much I'm going to actually make off of them, but I'll just go ahead and try them out. I only had $1.11 into them, but they sold for $27.99. That was my full asking price on eBay, which was really exciting. And so my net profit on that was $22.72. I don't think that this is a brand, especially with their bottoms, that you want to spend more than $5 on, but for $1.11, that was actually a really good pickup, and I made some good money on those pants. And then on the 4th as well, I finally had a sale on a different platform, and that was actually my own website, which is www.shopbeckypark.com. And on that website, I was able to sell this talentless multicolor tie-dye hoodie, or like a hoodie sweatshirt. It was 100% cotton, and it was in a men's size medium. This was so funny to me. So I saw it at a Goodwill about an hour and a half away. It's a town that I go to once a year with my students because they have a festival there, and while they're in rehearsal, I'm not doing anything. They're rehearsing with like a guest conductor, so I just go out and go thrifting, which I think is a better use of my time than just sitting there listening to them. But I was thrifting out at Goodwill in that town, came across this, saw the label, and I was like, I wonder what this is. I'd never seen it before. I looked it up, and it is Scott Disick's brand. Scott Disick is famously known as, what is it? Who is it? Kourtney. Yes, Kourtney Kardashian's ex-husband. I think it was like her first husband. He is the father of her children, like Penelope, and I don't remember the rest of their names. And even after they got divorced, I think, you know, he just got so close with like Khloe and stuff. He's still on episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. As far as I know, I don't really watch that show. But he's just kind of there and part of that universe. And he's like moderately famous because of that, but I think it's so funny that his clothing line is called Talentless because literally what he's known for is being a part of that Kardashian crew. You know what I mean? I kind of appreciated the self-deprecation in the name of the label. And when I had looked up comps at the time of purchasing this, comps were actually not bad, especially for this particular hoodie, but I held on to it for quite some time, probably because I had it listed a little too high. I think I listed it originally for like $75-ish. It did sell for $49.95 on my website, however. I had $9.99 into it from that Goodwill, and so my net profit on that was $29.19. So Scott Disick, thank you. Thank you for making this and for helping me make money off of it. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is February 5th, and on eBay, I sold, this is so ridiculous, I sold this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pajama shirt in a men's size medium. I did put Nickelodeon in the listing title because it said Nickelodeon as like the brand name, and I did put the word sleepwear in the title because this was something that you were supposed to sleep in. It sold for $9.99, and I had $2 into it because it was something that I got as part of an inventory buyout, and so my net profit on that was $5.30. Why did I list this? Like, I knew I wasn't going to make that much money off of it. It's not like something like this was going to sell for a ton, but I went ahead and listed it, made $5.30, and you already know what I plan to do with that $5.30. It is going to McDonald's. McDonald's takes a lot of my money. The next thing to sell on eBay was a much better sale. It was this flax gray 100% linen button-up tunic shirt in a women's size small. I did put the word login look in the title. Login look just means like layered, and it has this kind of like baggy, oversized, just very casual, like you don't take yourself seriously type of look to it. I don't know what's happening. So if you guys didn't know, I'm filming in my basement, and like right next to me is like, I don't know, you know how every basement has that room with like, this is where like the heater and the water, I don't know, like all those things that you need in your house to run the house, like they're all in that room. And they're being so noisy, like just the sound of rushing water. Like it sounds like my basement is about to flood, but I think those sounds are supposed to be there. I don't even know. So this item I picked up at a pop-up consignment sale that happens in my town twice a year, and I paid $9.23 for that item. That top ended up selling for $34.90. That was the offer that I sent out to watchers, and so my net profit on that was $19.32. I do really enjoy picking up the brand Flax. I think that it generally does really well. It has a following, and I think, you know, one thing that helps it is the fact that I think 99% of the time it's made of linen. And it's really cute because underneath the care tag, it'll usually have like a really motivational sentence or phrase that you can read. I don't know like which person is like, okay, I'm putting on my Flax piece for the day. Let me see what the motivational quote is. I don't know who's using that to pump them up. I don't even know if all Flax wearers know that that's there, but I think it's a nice touch. The next thing that I sold on eBay on the 5th was another great sale, and it was again from the same pop-up consignment sale. It was this pair of new with tags Cynthia Ashby Quinn black pull-on pants in a women's size extra small. These, again, I put the word login look in the title because they have that kind of like oversized layered look. They were made of 100% cotton. These I picked up for $12 at that consignment sale, but they sold for $70. Cynthia Ashby is a great brand. I feel like it's a brand that not a lot of people talk about, and I don't think that it's very well known, therefore not super saturated on reselling markets. And so if you find it for a decent price and are able to get it listed, yours is not going to be one amongst thousands, it's going to be one amongst maybe tens. And so that's the really nice thing about brands like this, that, you know, maybe not as many people are wearing, but also just there isn't as much of it on reselling platforms. And so my net profit on those pair of pants was $45.83. I own a pair of Cynthia Ashby pants myself. They're really comfortable. They're always really lightweight. And I got them at that pop-up consignment sale as well. And then on the 5th, I also had one Mercari sale. It was this Banana Republic luxury winter wool, cashmere, and Angora blend orange sweater in a men's size medium. This is something that I got from my mother-in-law. I believe my father-in-law wore it. So I didn't have any money into it. It sold for $12.36. Orange is not my color. To be honest with you, I don't think it's many people's color. So I personally, because of my own like personal feelings towards this color, thought that it would take a long time to sell, but it really didn't. It actually sold within a few months of it being listed. And then on February 6th, again, I had no sales, but on the 7th, on Mercari, I sold this pair of Athleta Gray Batona, that was the style name, low-rise jegging pants in a women's size small tall. You know, a lot of times with those like kind of specialized sizes, like anything that's a taller length or anything like for men that's like big and tall, like those things can do pretty well because there isn't as much of those products on reselling platforms, and people who need it. You know, if you've got really long legs, you can't just wear regular length. You'll be flooding in those pants. So whenever I see something that is like a tall or big and tall or whatever, I do try to pick them up because I know that there's a market for it. This I got from a local consignment store. I had $4.50 into it. They must have had like, you know, 75% off of that color tag or something. And so my net profit on those pants was $16.56. With Athleta, I do find that it always sells. It just usually takes some time to sell, especially if it's bottoms and they're a little bit older in style. Now, in March, I believe I sold this really great pair of Athleta, like, I don't know, they had like these snap buttons along the bottom, but they were a more current style, and those sold so quickly, like within a week or two of being listed. But these you could tell were a little bit older in style. And typically on, again, the care tag of an Athleta piece, it'll tell you the year that those were released. And so that gives you a really good idea. If you want to make sure that you are only selling things that are a little bit more recent, you can actually see the date that something was released by Athleta and stay away from items that are a little bit older than what you're comfortable selling. And then on February 8th on eBay, I sold this J. Crew pink tie-dye 100% silk blouse, or like popover. It was in a women's size medium. It was super lightweight, and it was something that I guess you could say I took a chance on. J. Crew typically takes a while to sell for me. I think, again, it's one of those brands that is incredibly saturated online, and I feel like in general the popularity of J. Crew has gone down. I remember maybe a month or two ago, my family and I, we went to an outlet mall in the Chicago suburbs after my daughter's gymnastics meet. And in this outlet mall, they had a J. Crew. They also had like an Abercrombie and just a bunch of other stores. Abercrombie, I feel like, was kind of going through a phase where it was kind of rough for them. They weren't, you know, doing super well. They've kind of revamped everything, I feel like, about their vibe and about who they cater to. We went to Abercrombie to look for some clothes for my kids, and it was so busy. There was so much activity. There was, you know, it was kind of a mess inside because people were just kind of going crazy. And, you know, we got a few things. And then by contrast, we also went inside the J. Crew factory that was at that outlet mall. No one. Like, nobody was inside. The store was in immaculate shape because no one had really gone in there and like ruffled through the piles of clothes or look, like you could just tell there wasn't a lot happening there. So I don't know. I feel like it's a combination of there is a lot of J. Crew on reselling platforms already, but also like people are just not as excited about what J. Crew is doing right now. I think it's a combination of the two. And so, you know, I kind of took a chance on this, but again, I got it at a local consignment store's birthday sale. For that particular birthday sale, I only had $3.47 into it, but it did sell for $27. I think with it being 100% silk, that helped, and I did make a net profit of $18.82. The next thing to sell on eBay was by the brand Umgee. It's one of those like boutique brands. It was this green embroidered floral boho flowy short sleeve dress in a women's size small. I actually got that for myself and I wore it a few times. I think I just picked it up at like a local consignment store. I just didn't love how it fit on me, and also I just don't wear dresses very often, and so I just went ahead and listed it. It sold for $15 and I made a net profit of $11.83. On Mercari, I sold this Eileen Fisher black striped v-neck sweater in a women's size small. It was made of organic cotton, and it was something that I honestly had listed for a long time, like years, I want to say. I don't know what it is. I feel like Eileen Fisher sweaters don't generally do very well, and I think it's because you would think something kind of like timeless and classic should do better than others, but this one, I don't know. And although I feel like this fell under that umbrella of like timeless and classic, maybe it was just too basic. I don't know. So I had $3.92 into it from a local consignment store, and my net profit on that was $19.69, and it did take me some time to sell. I also had a Poshmark sale this day. This was my first Poshmark sale of the month, February 8th. It took 8 days for me to make a sale on Poshmark, which is wild. It was this pair of UGG Fallbrook Cordovan brown leather lace-up ankle boots in a men's size 9.5. I got that at that same Goodwill that I talked about that was like, you know, about an hour away while my students were rehearsing for their festival. And I paid $24.99 for those because it looked like comps were pretty good. That being said, it sold for $50, which isn't bad, but I had so much into them, and Poshmark takes the most when it comes to transaction fees and stuff like that. So my net profit on that was only $15.01. Thankfully, I only had those in my possession for like less than a month, which is pretty cool. They sold pretty quickly, but you know, I didn't even double my initial investment, which to me isn't really the mark of a great sale. Still made a little bit of money, and I took, you know, an offer. I sold them for a little less than I would have liked to, but at that point I was like, you know what, I just want to go ahead and move these guys, especially before we get into the spring, and I think I made the right call. I think I just should not have picked them up for $24.99. And at that point I just had not made any sales on Poshmark, and I was like, I just need to accept the sale and hope that it creates more sales for me. And it didn't on that day, but thankfully the next day, which was February 9th, I did have some more Poshmark sales, and that Poshmark drought was kind of over. So my first sale of the day on Poshmark was this Chico's tie-dye pleated short sleeve dress in a Chico size 1.5. And you know, it did have kind of like an open sleeve here, which has not really been popular for quite some time now. So obviously this was a little bit dated, but it was something that I picked up at a local consignment store during their birthday sale. So I only had $3.47 into it. It sold for $35, which was my full asking price. Now that was something that I had listed only for like a month at that point. So I was kind of surprised by how quickly it sold, especially given the fact, like I said, that it wasn't super like trendy or anything like that. I'm not going to complain though. And my net profit was $24.53. The next Poshmark sale was not the best sale. It was this Gap blue wool blend hooded open front cardigan. I don't even know what size it was in, but it was something that I don't know, it was just in my house, so I listed it. I must have gotten it from a friend at church. Like, I had a friend who used to give me a ton of stuff that she and her family no longer wore, and she wouldn't take money for it. It must have come from her. I think I've had it in my possession for a really long time, and so I'm just saying I had nothing into it. It sold for $10, and that was with discounted shipping because of a Chrome extension that I use called Posher VA. Posher VA is a tool that I use every single day to do things like share my closet, which, oh my God, let me just go ahead and set that up for the day because it is 2:22 and I am just now realizing that I probably have not been sharing my closet this whole day, this whole time. And yep, it has not been running. So it's as simple as me just saying like, hey, run, and then it just runs for the whole day. So I'm doing that right now, but it also will send out offers to likers to people who have liked items in my closet. And I have it set up so that it just sends out offers automatically 5 minutes after someone likes an item. So that's what happened with this open front sweater. Someone liked it. 5 minutes later, Posher VA sent out offers to likers. They accepted. And so my net profit on that was $5.03. And I'm just so happy that after all the hard work of photographing and listing that item, that it finally sold. I also sold on Poshmark this Monroe, which is a Revolve brand, this Monroe blue striped sweater dress in a women's size large. It did have thumb holes, which are called cuffins, and it was made of 100% cotton. So that was something that I actually got at a Goodwill for a different festival that my students were participating in. It's like a conference. It's like the all-state choir. I had 3 kids make it this year because they're all fabulous. And it's like a 2-night conference. So there's a lot of rehearsals. These kids are singing all day. I actually also like did some of the conference-y type things. I went to some of the sessions and I actually spoke in a panel this year. It's like the most I've ever done at this conference. Usually I go drop the kids off and go thrifting. I did still, you know, find time to go thrifting, however. And at one of the Goodwills in that town, I picked up this dress for $7.23. It sold for $27, and so my net profit on that was $14.37. Not the best flip. I did, you know, double my initial investment, but it's a brand that I recently learned about and have come across recently. And so I was like, I just want to keep seeing how it does. And what I'm learning is while it may not sell for a ton, again, you know, it sold for $27, it does sell pretty quickly. So I was pretty happy with that flip in the sense that it was a fast flip. I did double my money, but you know, my goal is to try to make at least $20 of profit for each sale that clearly didn't happen here. And it clearly didn't happen on many of the sales that we're going to talk about in today's video, but that's the goal that I have in mind when I'm picking things up. Like, if I can make a $20 profit on something, then I find it worth my time. If not, then it's kind of like, maybe it would have been better for me to just leave that behind. And then on the 10th of February on Poshmark, I sold this White House Black Market gray metallic sleeveless braided trim dress in a size medium. I'm not going to lie to you, this was not the best sale for a number of reasons. So I actually got this as part of a birthday sale from that local consignment store. And for that particular birthday sale, I had $2.52 into that item. That was my average cost of goods for that particular day of shopping. It sold for $22 on Poshmark, which is great. And my net profit was $15.08. However, this was a dress that I had already sold once before on eBay, and the person didn't like how it fit on eBay, I believe, and so they returned it. I went ahead and relisted on all of my platforms, and it sold on Poshmark pretty quickly after being relisted. However, I noticed that when the buyer accepted the item, they only gave me a 1-star rating, and when I looked to see why, they were like, there are so many like little holes and flaws in this dress that were not described in the listing description. There were a couple flaws that I had described in the listing description and that I had taken photos of, but I guess there were even more that either I missed or maybe something happened when, you know, the person who initially purchased it on eBay, like while she was trying it on or something, maybe she had actually damaged it even more. I don't know. And to be honest with you, when I got the item back from the eBay buyer, I did not look over it again. I just went ahead and used all of my old photos and my old listing to relist it. That was a mistake that I made, and I feel bad because honestly, the Poshmark buyer could have opened a case and probably won, but they didn't. They just went ahead and accepted it. So I do feel bad, but also, I'm just glad to have it out of my life and to have made a little bit of money off of that. Like I said, I did make $15.08 on that sale. And then on February 11th on eBay, I sold this Fredericks of Hollywood coral bone-in lace-up corset in a women's size 34. It had like a lace trim on it. This is so outside of what I sell. I never look in like the intimate section of, thrift stores or consignment stores. It's just a category that I don't really know very much about. I don't know what brands to be on the lookout for when it comes to that kind of stuff. But this was just something that was sent to me by a wonderful viewer who's also named Becky. She has sent me like 3 boxes of inventory. She never lets me pay her anything. She just pays for the shipping and everything on her own as well. And I have sold many of the pieces that she has sent me. And some of those items sell for really, really good money. And also, as I kind of reflect on, the experience that I've had with her boxes, another bonus of her generosity is the fact that I get to learn about new brands. Like I said, I'd heard of Fredericks, but I had never purchased an item by that brand to resell myself. But because it showed up at my house in this box of amazing inventory, I was like, sure, let me just take the time to go ahead and try listing this and see what happens. And as a result, it sold for $27.99, which was my full asking price. And my net profit on that was $24.85. Obviously, I had no money into it because I got it for free. And that's really cool. Like, not only did I make a little bit of money because of her generosity, but I also learned that this is a brand that may be worth picking up in the future if I come across it. So for all of those things, Becky, thank you for contributing to my education as a reseller and for helping me make a little bit of money. You are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. By the way, at this point, if you are enjoying the video, if you feel like you've learned anything, I would super duper appreciate it if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button in the corner of the video right now, just because that simple act actually helps this video and the YouTube algorithm. So if you could do that for me, I would super duper appreciate you. But back to regular scheduled programming. The next sale on the 11th and on eBay was this pair of Nike Pro black and white leopard print mid-rise leggings in a women's size medium. These sold for $11.90. It was something that I had $1.09 into from a local consignment store. I don't even know what kind of sale they were having for me to get this for $1.09, but my net profit was $8.11. I do not have a lot of luck selling Nike Pro leggings. In fact, I still have a pair in my possession that I have had in my possession for like 4 years. 4 years, I want to say. And it's so crazy because with that pair of Nike Pro leggings, I still remember being inside the Plato's Closet and being like, should I get these? Should I not? Should I get these? Should I not? I think they're going to sell for a ton of money. I'll just go ahead and get them. And here I am 4 years later, not even able to give them away. So maybe you have more luck with Nike Pro leggings. I absolutely do not, because here I am selling them for $11.90 or holding on to them for just far too long. This was also the day that I had my one Kidizen sale of the month, and on Kidizen I sold this pair of Childhood's coal striped gussets joggers or like sweatpants in a toddler size 2T. I did put the word play or like play condition in the listing title because these were pretty beat up. They did have a pretty big hole in the knee. Some people don't care and they will still buy them in that condition, as you can see, because these sold. And these were actually something that my son had worn and just worn the crap out of, which is why, you know, there's a hole in the knee. They sold for $12. However, I do pay for shipping on items that sell on Kidizen, and after shipping and fees, my net profit on that was $5.79. I listed those, however, let's see, my son is 6 now, so I probably listed those like 3 years ago. Childhoods is a great brand, probably a brand that you won't find in the wild just because it has like a cult following, and I think the only place to buy Childhoods clothing is through their website or through like buy-sell trade groups on Facebook. Like the Childhoods buy-sell trade group on Facebook is so active. People go crazy in that buy-sell trade group. And so I feel like most people who buy Childhoods know the value of Childhoods and will typically try to get some of their money back so that they can put it towards more Childhoods clothing. They typically, I feel like, won't donate it to a local Goodwill. And I actually feel like I purchased these for my son probably on Kidizen. Especially their pants for kids are my favorite for my son. He's a little guy. He's extremely skinny, and I feel like Childhoods does run kind of small. So when we get his size, they just fit really nicely. I don't know, like the waistband is perfect for him. They're usually like an elastic waist. They don't like fall down the way that they do on other brands, and then the length still fits though. So it's like, it's got a smaller waist, it's got the length that he needs. It's great. And then he really loves their PJs too. So I had heard that even in play condition, and play condition is kind of code for these are really messed up, but even in play condition, these can still sell, which these did. It just took like 3 years. I think these were a little too beat up, but Childhoods is one of the very few children's brands that I will go ahead and list online. Otherwise, I just take, you know, my kids' old clothes to the local children's consignment store, or like with most of my daughter's clothing, we just pass it on to my nieces. On February 12th, I had a Depop sale. This was a really cool piece. So it said Sears on the label tag, and you know, Sears as a department store, I feel like has been defunct now for a couple of years. But back in the day when Sears was really big, and this is where some people would go to get clothing and stuff, I guess they like even made their own clothes, which is why it said Sears. But it was a vintage piece, obviously, and it was this geometric cardigan sweater in a men's size large. It was 100% acrylic, but it just had a really good look to it. Not the best materials. It was Sears, but it looked really cool. It sold for $48 on Depop. I do pay for shipping when it comes to Depop sales as well, and so after shipping and after fees, I still made a net profit of $37.08 on that, largely due to the fact that I didn't have any money into that. That was something that my father-in-law had worn, and it did have some small flaws throughout, like it had little holes and things like that, but I just made sure to take pictures of those flaws. I listed them in the description and still made some really good money off of that. So vintage sweaters from like the 80s and 90s can do so well, and I got really excited when I saw this because I knew that it was going to do really well for me. And I only list things on Depop now if the item is literally screaming to me, Depop, Depop, Depop. Then I'm like, okay, I'll list you on Depop. On Mercari this particular day, I sold this pair of Harley Davidson relaxed fit blue jeans in a men's size 34 by 31. I did put the word motorcycle in the listing title for obvious reasons, and these sold on Mercari for $16, which is a lot less than I was hoping for, but I had them in my possession for quite some time, so I was like, I just need to move them. I got the offer. Let's go. I'm cool with that. I had $4.50 into them from my local Plato's Closet. They were having some sort of sale, and so my net profit was $8.70. Not the kind of profit that I want to be making on items, but I don't know, at least I doubled my money on that. And then on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Abercrombie & Fitch dark wash blue super skinny jeans in a men's size 33 by 34. These, I believe, I had also sold on eBay, and then they were returned to me, you know, based off of fit. Super skinny is not really a super popular look right now, but you know, there's a buyer for everything, and I know some people hate when resellers say that, but it's true. Like, just because super skinny jeans for men is not, you know, what's trending at the moment, there are still some guys that are, you know, still into that. So I paid $3.47 for these from a local consignment store during their birthday sale. They sold for $30 on Poshmark, and so my net profit was $20.53. That fulfilled my goal of, you know, making a $20 profit or more on an item, and that was on something that, like I said, isn't really trending right now. It just goes to show sometimes it's okay not to only get things that is super popular at the moment. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is February 13th. And on eBay, I sold this Banana Republic keyhole preppy navy shift sleeveless dress in a women's size 10. This is not something that I would recommend picking up. I would have never picked this up at the consignment store or at a thrift store, but it's something that was sent to me by America's Thrift Supply, probably like 2, maybe 3 years ago at this point. They sent me a micro bale of dresses so that I could show the good citizens of YouTube what kinds of things you could get if you were to purchase a micro bale of dresses from America's Thrift Supply. And it turns out that what you get is a lot of crap. Like, it was not a good unboxing. I did a very honest unboxing, and the majority of the things that I got as part of that micro bale was stuff that I would never pick up on my own. I would never spend money buying those things at my local thrift stores, and that's the kind of stuff that they sent. So it definitely deterred me from wanting to do any wholesale sourcing from them. There were only a handful of things that I went ahead and listed. The majority of them I consigned at my local pop-up consignment store, and then other pieces I just donated. Like, they weren't even good enough for me to consign. But this item did sell on eBay for $17.90. It took a long time for it to sell because, like I said, I got those items like 2 or 3 years ago, and my net profit on that was $13.96, only because I didn't have any money into that dress. It was something that they sent me for free. The next thing to sell on the 13th on eBay was this Natural Reflections tan speckled cardigan sweater in a women's size small. It did have like elbow patches. I've seen this brand at the thrift store. I don't even know where it's sold. I actually feel like whenever I see an item by the brand, I like the look of it. It has like a very, I don't think bohemian is the right word, but it's like mildly bohemian, but more kind of like earthy. Like, it's got a lot of like prints inspired by nature, or like this item too. I feel like maybe it had some, I don't know. I don't remember what the materials in it were, but it just had, yeah, like an earthy vibe to it. I don't know how else to explain it. And whenever I find it at thrift stores, I'm like, oh, I kind of like this piece. I don't think that it holds a high resale value, however, so I don't pick it up typically. This was just something that was in a reseller buyout that I did last year, which is why I had it in my possession. I wouldn't have picked it up at the thrift store or anything like that, but I did like the piece, which is why I went ahead and listed it. It only sold for $14.90 on eBay. That was the offer that I sent out to watchers. I had $3.85 into it. That was my average cost of goods for every sellable item from that particular reseller buyout. So my net profit on that was $8.77. That was just kind of my way of trying the brand out to see if it was a brand that I should pick up in the future. It's not. That's what I learned from this experience. It's not really a great brand, but I do kind of like their pieces. The next thing to sell on the 13th was on Mercari, and it was this Athleta Stunner T-back purple workout exercise tank. It had a shelf bra, or like a built-in bra, and it was in a women's size medium. That was something that I purchased from a reseller friend of mine who had purchased a lot of inventory to resell, but realized she really only wanted to resell the vintage clothing. And so anything that was a little bit more contemporary, she would give me the opportunity to purchase from her at wholesale pricing, which basically just means, like, you know, for the amount that she purchased those items for initially. And so I had $4.77 into that item. My net profit was only $8.52, but it did sell really quickly, and I was happy to contribute to someone else's workout wardrobe. And I think I shared this, but that sold for $16. I had another Mercari sale this day. It was this Tommy Hilfiger blue cable knit sweater in a women's size medium. It was made of 100% cotton, and I did put the word preppy in the listing title. Tommy Hilfiger is another brand that I would never pick up at the thrift store unless it was from the 90s. 90s, like Y2K, Tommy Hilfiger, that stuff can do really well because at that time, that particular Tommy Hilfiger look was really popular and people are all about the vintage Tommy. But like modern day Tommy Hilfiger does not go for a lot. So this item was a little bit more modern. Maybe it was from like late 2000s, but it's just not like the style with like the spell out Tommy that people care about. But I got this in a reseller buyout, so I only had $2 into it and my net profit was $7.75. This is more of like a functional piece. It was something that I knew someone would purchase for like the office. You know, it's just like a nice preppy, just classic sweater to have in your wardrobe, but not anything that anyone would get excited about. There is Tommy Hilfiger that falls under that umbrella, but this was not that. And then on February 14th on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Lululemon Speed Up black and white workout line shorts in a women's size 8. These I sold on Poshmark for $26 and I made a net profit of $20.80 because that was another item that showed up in a box from my viewer slash angel, Becky, who just sends Lululemon to strangers out of the goodness of their heart. Becky, that's who. So Becky, thank you again so much. That was a perfect sale. I made at least a $20 profit. Love it. The next thing that sold, oh, this was Valentine's Day. So, you know, 3 Poshmark sales on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to me, because that's what Valentine's Day is all about, right? Making as many sales as possible. So the next sale was this pair of Gap Body Fit G-Fast black cropped leggings in a women's size extra small. These were mine. I don't know why I listed these. The better course of action would have been to consign them at that pop-up consignment sale, and they probably wouldn't have sold at that pop-up consignment sale, and at which point I select to have any unsold items just get donated to a local consignment store, but I went ahead and listed these for some reason. But I listed them a long time ago before I started consigning at that pop-up consignment sale, which means that these have been listed for like 3-4 years. But they did finally sell for $10. That was with discounted shipping because of Posher VA, and so my net profit was $5.03. The next sale on Poshmark was much better. These again were sent to me by Becky. So Becky, thank you again. And they were a pair of Reebok Nano X1 training shoes, or like sneakers, in a women's size 8.5. I put Float Ride in the listing title. I don't know why. I think maybe it just said the word Float Ride somewhere on the shoe. They had energy foam and they sold for $32 on Poshmark. And so my net profit was $25.60 because I had nothing into them because of Becky, because Becky's amazing and awesome and just all of the wonderful things. And then on the 15th of February on eBay, I sold this pair of vintage Nike Zoom Structure 12 GTX, which just stands for Gore-Tex, Tri-X sneakers in a men's size 12.5. These I got from, again, my reseller friend who will sell me her more contemporary pieces. I had just never seen Nike shoes like these before, and I don't feel like I see a lot of Nike shoes made with Gore-Tex. You know, Gore-Tex technology means that they're going to be breathable, they're going to be waterproof, and you don't see that a lot. You don't see the Gore-Tex label on Nike shoes very often. So I was like, you know what? Let's just try these out. Usually, like, the more weirder and random Nike shoes are, the more that they'll sell for, and I definitely feel like that was the case with these shoes. They sold for $35. They sold relatively quickly, and because I only had $5 into them, my net profit was $25.90. I'll take it. The next day of sales was February 16th, and on Depop, I sold this vintage Sag Harbor red short sleeve knit sweater cardigan in a women's size small. This was another item that looked at me and went, Depop, Depop. So I was like, okay, I'll list you on Depop, and I was not surprised that that's where they sold. I did not expect them to sell anywhere else, but they just kind of had that Y2K vibe. I just knew that these were going to sell on Depop. And sell on Depop they did for $25. Again, I paid for shipping. My net profit on that was $14.07 because I had $2 into them from a reseller buyout from like 3 years ago. But I had just gotten around to getting that listed like 2 years after I had it in my possession. I don't do things in a timely manner. I don't know if you've picked up on that, but I also like just have way too much inventory. I have a sizable death pile, and I honestly kind of like that. I like knowing that I'm not going to run out of inventory anytime soon, but it's also a problem. I just like to call it a blessing instead. The next sale from the 16th was on Poshmark, and it was this pair of J. Crew toothpick olive green mid-rise skinny pants in a women's size 26. These I got in a 100-pound rescue box in July of 2022. So I've had those for a very long time. They sold for $10, but I believe that rescue box I did a live unboxing of on Whatnot, and I definitely paid for that box as I was doing that Whatnot unboxing. And so as a result, I'm saying that I had no money into the items that I went ahead and listed myself because they didn't sell during the unboxing live shows on Whatnot. And so my net profit was $7.05. On the 17th of February, I had a really cool sale. I was very proud of this sale, actually. It was this Todd Snyder collaboration with Champion. It was this color block short sleeve sweatshirt, gray and navy, like short sleeve sweatshirt in a men's size large. I got this when I was in Peoria with my students for that all-state music conference that I was telling you about. I saw it, I thought it looked really cool, I thought it looked like it was high quality. I personally like Champion pieces. I know that not all Champion is created equal and will not necessarily do well. And when I looked at it and looked at the tag, I saw the name Todd Snyder. And to be honest with you, I didn't really know who Todd Snyder was. I didn't know a lot about his pieces. But when I looked up comps, I was like, ooh, I got something here. And they were only asking $5.44 for this item. So I went ahead and got it. It sold for $45 on eBay. And this baby sold in one day. I got so many offers across all the different platforms. I think I had it listed for $50, and I was getting a lot of like $30, even like $25 offers. And I think I was in the process of countering back and forth with someone, and then someone sent me an offer of $45, and I was like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and accept it, which is, how the sale ended up going down. But it just sold so incredibly fast. So if you find anything by that Todd Snyder Champion collaboration, it is definitely worth picking up. And my net profit on that was $31.53. These are my favorite kinds of sales, the ones that just flip really quickly, they're easy to photograph, and you make some good money on them. Mwah, love it. The next thing to sell on the 17th was over on Poshmark, and it was this Carbon to Cobalt. It's a pretty good men's brand. I think it used to do a lot better than it does now, but it was this purple blue trim waffle knit roll neck sweater in a men's size extra large. This I picked up when I was at the other festival that I talked about that I go on with students in October, and so I only had $3 into this item. It was actually half off that day, I remember, and it sold for $35 on Poshmark, and so my net profit was $25. So just two back-to-back great examples of men's sales. I do love selling men's clothing, and part of the reason why is I don't feel like there's as much men's clothing online, so there's just not as much competing against my items, and I don't know, men's pieces tend to do pretty well for me. On February 18th on Mercari, I sold this pair of Zia black biker shorts in a women's size large. They did have side pockets, which I love on leggings and biker shorts. And I did put the words athleisure and athletic in the listing title as well. They sold for $19 on Mercari for me. I picked them up for $3 at a local consignment store during a $3 tag sale that they were having, which is kind of funny because I literally went to a $3 tag sale yesterday at the same consignment store, and I think I picked up a pair of Zia biker shorts at that sale as well. So kind of funny, but they sold for $19. My net profit on those was $12.90. Zia used to go for so much, and now it absolutely does not. So I actually leave the majority of it behind now, unless I'm getting it for like, I don't know, $2 or something like that, but I'm not going to pay anything more than like $2 or $3 for Zia anymore because it generally won't sell for over $25. Whereas in the past, it was selling for like $40, $50, which is crazy, but it's just not doing that well anymore. And I'm not surprised because it is an LML. And I'm not surprised because it is an MLM type of brand, which means it's not sold at stores. People are selling it to other people. It's like, you have like parties where people can come and try it on, and you have it like in your possession at that moment, and they walk away with the items from that party. I feel like a lot of those brands. So that's, you know, LuLaRoe, Cabby is another brand like that. I feel like a lot of those brands have a moment where it's really hot and then it just isn't anymore. Cabby never really had like a not hot anymore moment, however, which is kind of interesting. With Cabby, you just have to be really careful and make sure that you're not getting pieces that are oversaturated because it's been around for a long time. So you can get a Cabby piece that's really old and just not doing well, but Cabby can still actually do pretty well. And I think that's because the quality is there. There are a lot of Cabby stands out there. Man, this was a good Mercari day though. So the next sale was this pair of Corky's Pewter. That was like the color. Tootsie faux leather heeled fold over ankle boots in a women's size 10. I remember being a little hesitant to get these because they weren't even made of real leather. However, they sold for $29. I had $7 into them from the same consignment store that I just talked about that does like the tag sales. This time it must have been like a certain percentage off. So I got them for $7 and my net profit was $17.53. Corky's is not a brand that I pick up very often, but more because of the fact that I don't find it very often, not because I don't like it. I think generally when I do pick it up, I have decent luck with it, and it is a brand that I would continue to get, but maybe not for $7. The next Mercari sale was this Lily Pulitzer Clarice Periwinkle Blue eyelet shift dress in a women's size 6. It had a big bow on it. I thought it was really pretty. I thought it would be really great for like Easter or something like that. And it was something that I got at that Goodwill when my students were at a festival in October. I had $6.99 into it at that Goodwill. It sold for $38, and so my net profit was $25.38. Lily Pulitzer does not have to have a loud print for it to do well. I thought that this was a pretty great Lily Pulitzer sale, but there are some of those rare Lily Pulitzer prints and like pieces with like the prints that people are crazy about that can go for like over $100, $200, $300. And I knew that I didn't have something like that on my hands, but I was still really happy with that sale because like I said, my profit was over $25. So very pleased with myself with that sale. And then on Poshmark, I sold this Trina Turk orange and white brocade high neck sleeveless sheath dress in a women's size 6. I typically don't pick up Trina Turk if it's not a swimsuit because I feel like while their swimsuits can do really well, their clothing generally does not do nearly as well as their swimwear. So I don't pick up a lot of Trina Turk pieces, and I don't really find it that much often in my area as well. But this was something that was at a local consignment store during their birthday sale. So I had $347 into it. It sold for $29, which I was kind of surprised by on Poshmark, and my net profit was $17.71. I did also have discounted shipping on that because of Posture VA, which is that Chrome extension that I keep talking about. And if you're interested in trying out Posture VA yourself, I do have a coupon code that you can use down in the description below. It is BECKYPARK, and it allows you to save 20% off of your first payment on Posture VA. It's a great way to just try it out. They have a great like free trial period as well, so you have nothing to lose and you can save a little bit of money if you decide that it's something that you want to keep in your arsenal when it comes to reselling. I, at this point, don't know how I could live without it, but let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions about it. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is February 19th. And on this particular day, I had one bundle sale, but it was a great bundle sale and it went to a viewer. I, of course, did not write down that viewer's name, but I will put it right here. Thank you so much for shopping from me. I honestly don't get a lot of viewer sales, and I'm not complaining that I don't get a lot of viewer sales. It just isn't something that happens to me. If a viewer buys something from me, they usually leave a note or something so that they know that they came from YouTube, and it's so sweet and wonderful whenever it does happen. Again, I'm not like expecting it to happen. I'm not upset that it doesn't happen more. I'm just kind of stating facts. But every time a viewer does come into my closet or eBay store or wherever and lets me know that they're shopping from me because they saw me on YouTube, it just warms my heart. It's so sweet. And so this particular viewer bought 3 items from me in this bundle, and she got some really cool pieces. So 2 of the items that she got I had shown in haul videos. And again, these were pieces that I got when I was thrifting out of town while my students were at the All-State Music Conference, and I'll actually link that haul video right here if you want to see what kinds of things I got during that trip. But the first item was this Vintage Capacity. That was the brand name. It was this vest, and it was so cute because it had all of these like garden things on it. So like it had like packets of seeds, it had like gardening tools, it had actual plants on it. If you are a gardener, it would have been your favorite vest to wear of all time because it was made just for you, essentially, you know? But it was this full zip knit embroidered looped vest. It had beads on it as well. I loved it. I just thought it was so cool. And I think what she did was she put the 3 items in a bundle and sent me an offer. And I think it was like $15 less than what everything would have been, you know, at regular price. So I'll just go ahead and tell you how much items sold for given the bundle discount. So this sold for $30. I had $5.44 into it from that Goodwill, and so my net profit on this particular item was $16.56. The next item that she got from me was this pair of Madewell brown leather, the Carry, that was the style name, mule slip-on shoes in a women's size 8.5. Those I actually got a while ago at the Goodwill outlet in Seattle. So I don't know if this is still how it is because it's been like 2 years since I've gone to Seattle and been to their Goodwill outlets, but they have many Goodwill outlets in the Seattle area. Like I want to say more than 5. And I typically, when I would visit my parents in Seattle, would go to 3 different locations. I would go to the one in Kent. I would go to the one in, oh, it starts with a T. What is the name of that town? It's going to bother me. It starts with a T. I'll research it and I'll put it here. Maybe it doesn't start with a T. I don't know. I want to say Tukwila, but it's not. It's something else. It sounds like that. And then I would go to the one in downtown. And what I realized was there were no shoes at any of the Goodwill outlets except for the one in downtown. I feel like they just kind of save up all of the shoes and bring them there. If I'm wrong and you're from Seattle, correct me. But that was just kind of my experience. So I got these at the downtown location, and my average cost of goods for that particular trip was $2.50. They sold for $35, so my net profit on those was $24.50. And they took so long to sell, I think, because I think I was just being greedy and had them listed for too high. I just thought they were really cool and they were in really, really good condition. And then the last sale from this bundle was this new with tags Judy blue cow print denim trucker jacket in a women's size 2XL. This was an item that I got during that same trip while my students were at the All-State Conference. I typically have really good luck with Judy blue, which is why I picked this up. And it was my first time picking up a Judy blue piece that was not a pair of jeans, and they were new with tags. So that one sold for $55. I had $13.72 into that, and so my net profit on that was $33.28. So thank you so much for visiting my closet and making these purchases for me. You are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is February 20th, and on eBay I sold this Peanuts Snoopy St. Patrick's Day graphic t-shirt in a youth girl size medium. Again, this was not the kind of thing that I needed to be listing and selling, but I listed it like 3 years ago at this point. I think someone got it in preparation for St. Patrick's Day. It sold for $4.90. I made a net profit of $3.48. Thankfully, I didn't have any money into that. That was just something that I don't even know if my daughter wore it, but someone had given it to us for free for my daughter to wear. But yeah, this is just another prime example of why I don't list a lot of children's clothing anymore. It just isn't worth the time and effort that goes into listing and shipping out a children's piece. I had no sales on February 21st, but on February 22nd on eBay, I sold this vintage Intimates Lane Bryant gold and black lace slip v-neck dress in a women's size 18 or 20. I remember being kind of hesitant to list this. I only had it in my possession because of a reseller buyout, so I had about $3 into it. I don't have a lot of luck with Lane Bryant, but I listed it and automatically it got a lot of attention. I think I got a few lowball offers on it, a lot of likes and stuff like that, a lot of watchers, but it did finally sell for $15.50. I believe that someone sent me a pretty lowball offer. We went back and forth, finally landed at $15.50. So my net profit on that was $10.24. Not what we're looking for, but I don't think I was ever going to get even close to 20 with it being a Lane Bryant piece. But like I said, it actually did pretty well. The next eBay sale that I had that day was this Talbot's black and red floral velvet fully lined pencil skirt in a women's size 6. This sold for $20 on eBay. I did have $3 into it from a Plato's Closet. Why this was at Plato's Closet, I don't know, but I always will find at least like one Talbot's piece every time I go to Plato's for, you know, a big sale that they're having. But it's funny because, you know, Talbot's will have like a little pamphlet that you can pick up telling you what kinds of things they're looking for and also what brands they're no longer picking up. And the last time I saw their little pamphlet, Talbot's was on the list of brands that they're no longer picking up. I just think it's funny that they were accepting any Talbot's in the first place, because Plato's generally appeals to like high school and college students, and there's not a lot of high school and college students that get super excited about Talbot's. I had no sales on February 23rd as well, so quite a few no sales days in the month of February. But on the 24th of February, I did sell this coat by the brand Tokyo Darling. It was this gray woven boho coat with like a faux shearling collar. It was in a size extra small, and this was actually something that I had purchased from Lori Tata from Lori's Boston Found. If you don't know her channel, first of all, you need to crawl out from the rock that you are living under, because she's amazing. She's super knowledgeable. She's just the sweetest ever. Definitely check out her channel. But I purchased this from her. I think she was having some sort of big sale in her Poshmark closet many, many years ago. And so I got this because I thought it was really cool. But I did go ahead and list it finally because I probably wore it like once a year. It was just so big and took up so much space in my closet, so I was like, I just need to go ahead and move this on to its next home. So it did sell on Poshmark for $34. That was with discounted shipping because of Posher VA, and so I made a net profit of $25.18. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I paid that much for it when I initially bought it from Lori, so I do think I actually made money off of that sale, which is kind of cool. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is February 25th. On Mercari, I sold this pair of Alo Yoga Urban Moto high-rise jogger sweatpants in the color anthracite in a women's size large. I got these while thrifting while my students were at the All-State Music Conference in Peoria. They sold for $32. I had $4.89 into them, so my net profit was $22.28. That was a very quick flip. I feel like Alo Yoga is having a moment right now. It's just so popular. People are loving it. So I was not surprised that those sold as quickly as I did. I was surprised that I found them for so cheap at that particular Goodwill. I'm shocked that they did not price those up. But they were on a new rack that was being wheeled out, and that's typically where I'm going to find the best stuff every time I go to a Goodwill. On that same day on Poshmark, I sold this pair of Nike beige standard fit high-rise elastic waist joggers, or like sweatpants, in a women's size small. I got those at that same Goodwill as the Alo Yoga leggings, and those sold for $35 on Poshmark. That was my full asking price. I had $4.89 into those as well, and so my net profit was $23.11. When I got these at that particular Goodwill, I got them for my husband because I thought that they were a men's pair of sweatpants. And I remember bringing them home and being like, hey, try these on, I got them for you. And he was like,
those are not gonna fit me.
And I was like, you never know, just try them on. He could barely even get one of his legs into those things, so we had a really good laugh about them. And the nice thing about Nike pieces is if you look at the care tag, you will see the style number on them. And so when I looked these up, I realized that they were actually women's pants, not men's pants. Told him later after the fact, and he was like,
I told you they were going to be too small on me.
And I was like, yeah, you were definitely right on that. So, you know, despite the fact that they didn't work out for him, I'm happy that they worked out for someone else. And it worked out for me because I made a pretty good profit on those. The next Poshmark sale was this Levi's Sherpa line denim trucker jean jacket in a women's size medium. This was something that I got from Becky as well. That sold for $35. I think that was an offer that I accepted, and so my net profit on that was $28 because I had no money into it. I got it for free because Becky is the best. And then on the 26th of February on eBay, I sold this Velzira, that was the brand name, embroidered pink tassel fringe poncho top. It was a one size fits most. It was made of 100% cotton. I don't know that I've heard of this brand. I don't know where it's sold. Since selling this item, I feel like I've come across a few items by this brand. you know, I wasn't super impressed when I looked up comps or anything like that, but I thought it was kind of a cool piece. It was something that I got as part of an inventory buyout. So I had $385 into it, and it sold for $21.90, which was pretty good considering I didn't have a lot of faith in it. And my net profit on that was $17.74. The next eBay sale was this Fred David blue and white striped shirt in a women's plus size 1X. Actually, these two items sold to the same buyer, and I think that that buyer was a viewer as well. So I'll put that viewer's name here. Thank you so much. Again, never do I expect viewers to come visit my eBay store or Poshmark closet or anything like that, but when you do, I super appreciate you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And this item sold for $14.90. I had $2 into it from a different reseller buyout, and so my net profit on that was $9.80. So again, thank you very much. And then on the 27th of February, I had 0 sales, but on the 28th on eBay, I sold this pair of new with tags Lauren Ralph Lauren black career ankle dress pants in a women's size 10. This is another item that had already sold before, but was returned to me based on fit. I had $2.52 into it from a local consignment store's birthday sale. It sold this time around for $25, and so my net profit was $17.97. And I do like selling Lauren Ralph Lauren. I would never have picked up this very basic pair of pants by the brand, however, except for the fact that they were new with tags, which is why I went ahead and picked them up, because it was, you know, part of that birthday sale. I knew I wasn't going to have a lot into them, and I just kind of wanted to see what would happen with career type pants from this brand. You know, it did sell twice, but it wasn't a quick flip. It's not like I made a ton of money off of them. And now I know for sure dress pants by this brand, I don't need to pick it up. The next sale was this Champion Athletic maroon quarter zip pullover sweatshirt in a women's size small. This I had for a very long time. I don't know why I got it. And this was actually a Poshmark sale. So it sold for $12. I had $4.99 into it. And not only that, but I also had discounted shipping on that because of Posture VA. My profit on that, this is the saddest one of the month. My profit was $2.04. So yeah, not all Champion is created equal. And this one was not a good pickup. $2.04. What am I supposed to do with that? I can get a small fries at McDonald's. That's about it. You know, I'm just thankful that it moved. And now I know you don't really pick up Champion unless it's like super vintage or unless the name Todd Snyder is before it. The next Poshmark sale was this pair of Cole Haan Grand OS Delora Skimmer calf hair animal print loafers in a women's size 9. This I got while I was with my students during that All-State Music Conference. So these sold really, really fast, which I'm not super surprised by, but just a little surprised by, because Cole Haan does take a while to sell for me, but these were amazing. And they were in really, really, really good shape, like almost to the point of, you know, me thinking that they're new, but they sold for $50. I had $6.80 into them, so my net profit on those was $33.20. That was a great sale. The next day of sales was February 29th, which, you know, it was a leap year. So we had one extra day to make sales this year in the month of February. I took full advantage of that by making 2 sales. The first one on eBay, and it was the Soft Surroundings Boho 100% wool open front sweater cardigan. It was one of those like one size fits most deals. This sold so fast, and this actually also sold to a viewer. I know I sound like a liar by saying that I don't have a lot of viewer sales. I really don't, but I think it's because we're going over the course of like an entire month. And this is like an abnormally large number of viewer sales for me in a month. It's just kind of funny how that worked out. But this sold to a viewer. I will put her name right here. And it sold literally like within a day or two of being listed. So thank you so much. I thought this piece was beautiful, and I actually had purchased it for myself. It just didn't look very good on me, which is why I went ahead and listed it. And this was another item that I got while with my students at that All-State Music Conference. But this I got at Clothes Mentor, and that was a different haul, I believe. So I will put that haul video right here. And that was probably the first item that I listed from that haul. I'm actually still photographing a lot of those pieces and just getting around now to listing some of those pieces, but I had some really, really great items from that haul, this being one of them. So it sold for $34.90. I had $5 into it, and my net profit was $23.83. And that was my first time like actually purchasing items to resell from Clothes Mentor, and it was great because they were doing like an 80% off sale, and they had some really, really great items. The last sale that we're going to talk about before we go into my final numbers for the month was on Poshmark. It was this pair of Lululemon Army Green Speed Up shorts in a women's size 8. These were high rise and they were, again, from Becky. I don't typically find these kinds of really great, like more current or more like desirable pieces by Lululemon. I feel like their shorts actually do really well. Their leggings are kind of hit or miss. If they're like very recent styles, they'll do well. A lot of their tops, like just especially like workout tops or like t-shirt type things, they're not going to do super well. They're like, you know, hoodies and things of that nature will typically do okay. But I was really excited when I saw this pair of shorts in the box because I knew that they were going to sell pretty quickly and for a decent amount, and that's exactly what happened. They sold for $30. Again, I had nothing into them. They sold within the month and my net profit was $24. So Becky, again, thank you. Like because of your items, I probably made like $100 in net profit just from your items, and you're just amazing. Thank you so much. So let's talk about my numbers. On eBay, I had 22 sales for a gross sales amount of $650.47. When you factor in fees and shipping, that total drops to $436.20. And my cost of goods for those 22 sales was $73.81. So all in all, in the month of February, my net sales from eBay was $362.39. On Poshmark, I made 21 sales for a gross sales amount of $632. After fees and shipping, that total dropped to $492.10. My cost of goods for the month on Poshmark was $86.49, and so my net profit on Poshmark was $405.61. And then on Mercari, which it's funny because my computer auto-corrected that to Mercury. So on Mercury, I had 10 sales. My gross sales amount was $230. After fees, that total drops to $193.24. My cost of goods on Mercari was $41.57, and so my net profit was $151.67 for the month. On Depop, I had 2 sales. My gross sales amount was $73. After fees and shipping, that total dropped to $53.15. My cost of goods was only $2, and so my net profit on Depop for the month was $51.15. I did have one Kidizen sale for a gross sales amount of $12, and after fees and shipping, that total dropped to $5.79, which ended up being my net profit as well because those were, you know, pants that my son had worn the crap out of, and they were very well loved. And so my total numbers for the month, in gross sales, it was $1,647.42. After fees and shipping, that total dropped to $1,250.41. My total cost of goods for the month was $213.86, and so my total net profit was $1,005.80, which is pretty bad. That's pretty low for me for a month. And I'll be honest with you, in February, I just didn't do a lot. I didn't list a lot. I was just really busy at school and with family. There were gymnastics meets every weekend, I feel like, between the 2 kids. I was really busy. I didn't do a lot. I also just wasn't super motivated because when you're not making a lot of sales, it's kind of disheartening and you're just kind of like,
well, forget it. I'm not going to do any work if I'm not going to be rewarded with any sales.
I think I was kind of in that zone for a bit, but you know, $1,000, like I'm not going to turn my nose up at that. That's a good amount that's going to help the majority of families in America. $1,000 extra a month does not go unnoticed, but the goal is to get closer to like 3,000, and I feel like we're basically at the end of March right now as I'm filming this, and I feel like I've hit a really good groove in the last few weeks. I've been really consistent with my listing. I feel like my number of sales has gone up as a result. I'm just trying to like get my mojo back when it comes to reselling. So hopefully you see a little bit more consistency in my sales and upcoming What Sold videos, and hopefully you also see a little bit more consistency in my YouTube schedule as things die down just a little bit at work and as gymnastics meets have come to an end. Hopefully that means I have a little bit more time to invest in my reselling business, in YouTube, all of those things. But that is it for this video. It was a long one, so if you are still here, don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!